Hello friends, thanks for joining me today. For this week's media demonstration video, I'm going to show you how to use oil pastels and a black colored pencil to finish this gnome drawing. So a lot of people think that gnomes have to do with gardens, and they are sometimes garden gnomes, but they can also be kitchen gnomes, and it's really cute and fun. It's an art lesson that has a lot of interesting colors and different things in the, from his clothing to all the stuff in the background. So I thought it'd be fun today to use oil pastels, and I want to talk just about them a little bit in a second. But first, I want to remind you guys, I have about 5 magnets left. If you want one, you've got to email me and you got to ask me for one. I will happily mail one to you with a personal thank you note. They're great for holding up your artwork on the refrigerator. They're great for a magnetic whiteboard or perhaps a washer, a dryer, a door, anything that's metal, guys. These are flat and they look great. So please let me know if you want one and I will gladly send one to you. All right, guys, so today for our oil pastels, I want to talk a little bit about this set. So if you've seen these videos before, if you have drawn with me before, you know that you can use whatever supplies you have at home. There are many, many brands. I recommend Crayola's 28 color oil pastel brands because there's a great variety of colors and I like them. They're not too soft, they're not too hard, they're non-toxic, they're great for kids, they're great for everybody. So that's the one I recommend. Also, I recommend very much this one for sure, the black Prismacolor pencil. So with all these lines and an oil pastel drawing, sometimes you lose track of the details, and we don't want to do that. We want to show all these wonderful details today. See, like details like words like oil and fish and bread and the steam over the pot on the stove. So there's going to be things that we don't want to lose. So have a black colored pencil nearby. A Prismacolor black colored pencil is really great. They're about $2 and per pencil, and they are really the best. There are other ones that are okay. This is the best one, in my opinion. Also, you're going to need to be able to sharpen it, guys. So you need a manual pencil sharpener and a little cup to catch your shavings in. And so a lot of my students come to class without being prepared. So guys, sharpen your pencils. Just be ready to go, okay? This is about 25 cents, and it is about as easy as it can be, and it will last a super long time. So I recommend that as well. All right, guys, enough about the supplies. We're going to go ahead and get started. So if you have done my in-person classes, my videos, my virtual classes, you know that I talk a lot about being prepared, and one thing to do is to test your colors out ahead of time on a piece of scrap paper. That's also because I think it's really wise to say, well, I need to also have a plan. That way you have a good result. So for example, I know I need to have a skin color. I know I need to have a certain color for his hair. I'm thinking ahead about the color of his hat and his clothes, but really I'm going to start, I know, with his skin. So Crayola does a good job in this pack of giving you a few options. There's this color, which is called apricot, which I never understand. That does not look like apricot to me personally, but maybe it does. Then they have this color, which is peach. This is a little more peachy. I can see that. Those are nice tones. There's, of course, this nice brown tone. And there's some others as well. There's like a sort of a goldenrod yellow and some other things. But these 3 tones are great in combination for just about any skin tone. You can make them darker, you can make them lighter. But what I am usually going to do here, I almost always do sort of a mid-tone, sort of like this apricot. And then I take just a tiny bit of this brown and I mix it in. I also take a little peach and I go over the whole thing like that. And if it seems too peachy, I add a little more apricot. And yep, that looks just fine. But one thing you can think about is mixing it with your finger. It doesn't matter which finger you use, but what you're doing here is you're mixing and blending. The oil in the oil pastel melts with your body heat. And so also the friction from your finger on the paper. And so it just gives it a nice look and it changes it a little bit. It's really nice to rub oil pastel in. And so I hope you'll think about doing that. So I know that I'm going to have a good color for his face. I want his beard to be sort of a blackish gray in some areas, kind of salt and pepper. A little bit like my own hair, I should say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the black, the gray, and the white, kind of like I did with these 3 colors, right? And side by side, they look just fine. But what I want to do is have that mid-tone, right? My gray. I'm going to do a little black over top of it, a little white over the whole thing. And what that does for me is it creates a really nice gray color. You can rub it in, I can leave it the way it is, or I want to show you also this black colored pencil. Check that out, guys. It cuts right through the oil pastel. And if you need to add extra details in your drawing, it's a really nice black pencil and it looks great with a Sharpie. So anyway, time to get started. I'm going to do the rest of this in time lapse. I'll come back and do a conclusion. This is a lot of fun, guys. Remember, time lapse is fast because it's a video, but you in real life need to take your time. It should take you about 20 to 30 minutes at least to do a good job. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I will see you in just a few minutes. All right, guys, so I had to change direction a little bit halfway because I wasn't crazy about how it was going, and that sometimes happens when you are doing art. I decided I had to get some paper towels out. They are great for mixing and blending, and they're a good way to like kind of lift the oil pastel up off the paper as well. Sometimes, you know, it gets a little bit thick and it starts to get kind of crusty and funky, and you don't like the way that looks, and that's okay. Sometimes it's good. I'm going to leave the oil pastel on these things and the hat and the clothing. I'm going to leave it nice and thick. I like the way that looks. It's good contrast with the way it looks thinner and not as prominent in these other areas. When you use a paper towel, what it does is it lifts off some of the color, but it also kind of leaves a stain on the paper where the oil pastel was. It's just another way, a technique, I should say, of getting the same thing done. It's really about your preference and what you like and don't like. So I'm glad I did that. And now it's time to use the black Prismacolor pencil. So I'm not going to do this entire thing in real time here because I don't want you to have to watch every single second of it. But I want to point out to you that this black pencil is amazing and it helps a lot. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go around the nose just to show you what I mean. And around the top of the mustache. And so what this does is I'm going right over top of my lines, and that's going to make it look really, really bold, and particularly in places like, you know, the eyes, where you don't want them to get all fuzzy and faded out. So look at how much darker that's going to make their eyes. So take your time with this, guys. Don't rush. I tell this to my students all the time. Take your time. Don't rush. You can always come back to it later. Now this guy does not have a reflection mark in his eye because technically they're not alive. Their eyes are not shiny, but sometimes they're cuter if you put a little reflection mark on their eye. So if you want to, you can take a white oil pastel and just put a white reflection mark on there. It makes them look a little bit friendlier. Some people like them without the reflection mark. Some people like them with them. It doesn't really matter. Either way is just fine. So I'm going to show you the eyes, and then I'm going to go on into time lapse. It's also nice to kind of make sure that the eyes are about the same size. They don't have to be identical. There we go. So I'm going to do another nice reflection mark. And you can see how the reflection mark makes him look a little cuter. All right, guys, I'm going to keep going here in time lapse, and I will come back in just a moment for the conclusion. Well, friends, I am now done with my kitchen gnome, and it was a little bit of a process. It took me a little bit of time, but I really like the result. What's interesting, I'm sure you've had this experience, is sometimes in the middle, you're like, oh man, I don't like this. I don't like the way it looks. You want to just give up, but guys, don't give up. Persevere, keep on going. Sometimes you will think of things as you are going that help you get to a different ending in a way that maybe you didn't plan on, that's even better than what you thought it might be. So sometimes, guys, it is good to keep on going. Now that I'm done with this, I really like it. I was kind of unsure in the middle, but I'm really happy I pushed through and finished. So friends, also I wanted to say these black pencils, if you want to add details, like I added the detail there on my green towel, it's a great way if you want to like add any little details, do it with your black pencil. Don't do it with your Sharpie. It's going to hurt your Sharpie to draw on top of the oil pastel. Oil pastels and Sharpies don't mix. But for now, guys, I'm going to show you one last thing. If you've watched these videos before, you probably know. But friends, you need to take care of your art supplies. Your parents have specifically asked me to tell you that, and it's actually absolutely true, good advice. So please, don't leave them in a big pile. Don't drop them on the floor. For goodness sakes, don't step on them on the floor. You don't want to make a mess, and you want to protect them. So put them back in the box. Put the box away. It's even better if you close it up. Then they're ready for you next time. Your pencil, this one's already pretty sharp, but just give your pencil a couple turns in the pencil sharpener. Then your pencil's ready for you. This extra paper, I could use it again on this side, but I'm probably just going to recycle it. I just want to make sure that it gets in the right place. And that, my friends, is it for today. I hope you had fun. I know I did. And I look forward to seeing your kitchen gnomes. I'll see you next time.